Hello back everybody. Welcome to the lecture 21 of microprocessors and microcontrollers. In today's lecture, we'll be talking about assembler directives and macros and procedures. Macros and procedures basically are the type of structures, models, which helps us to build a modulo-based programming model. We shall see what exactly that means. And before we continue, we will have a small brief recap of our previous lecture, previous topic, that was instruction sets. So let us continue. So in our previous class, we have talked about this instruction set. We have seen all the instruction set of 8086 with these 6 groups. So all the data transfer or the data movement type of instructions are grouped under the data transfer instructions. All arithmetic instructions, for example, addition, subtraction, multiplication, they are grouped into this arithmetic instructions group. Logical instructions, say AND, OR, XOR, NOT, shift, rotate, those type of instructions are grouped under the logical instructions. Then we have string manipulation instructions, which are specially used for manipulating the strings in the way that means moving a string, compiling a string, scanning the string for a particular character and all. And we have seen then in the 5th group, the control transfer instructions. Basically here we have all seen all the different branching instructions and loop instruction. And finally, we have seen the machine control instructions, which are meant for controlling the processor's actions directly. Okay, so let us continue. So today's lecture will be talking about assembler directives of 8086 assembly language programming. So what does an assembler directive means? Assembler directives, as we have seen earlier also, the definition says that these are the hints or commands which a programmer gives to the assembler, such that the assembler can easily translate the program into a machine code, because processor does not understand the program what we have written, because assembly language program mnemonics cannot be understood by the processor. What it understands is only the machine code. Anyhow, we call the assembler directives also as pseudo instructions. Why we call? Because they are a sort of instructions we are providing to the assembler but not to the processor. So uses of the assembler directives are listed here. They are used here to specify the start and end of the program. They attach the value to the variables, allocate the storage locations to input and output data. They define the start and end of the segments, procedures, macros, etc. So we shall see these all things with the example of a few assembler directives which have listed, and these are the assembler directives which we'll be talking about. Okay, here we start with the DB, which stands for define byte. So we define some variable as a byte size. Define word, defining a variable into a word size. Segment, this particular assembler directive is meant for starting of a segment. End S, we pronounce this one as end S because it is used for ending the segment, which we are indicating the end of the segment. Assume is used for naming the different segments of the memories. Okay, ORG is used for beginning or certain origin memory into the segment. Whether suppose it's data segment or code segment, we write ORG some number. That number becomes an effective address start of that particular segment. End is a normal end instruction. Okay, even it is used for making the processor to store the data at the even addresses. What is the purpose? Why it is so? We will see. EQU, it is used for equating the variables with the values. PROC is used for starting the procedure. End P, we pronounce this one as end P, it is used for ending the procedures. Far and near are used for indicating the displacement of the procedures instructions from the main program instruction. So what they are used for, we will see. Next is short. Okay, here this one is used for specifying or reserving a byte location of displacement for defining into a relative addressing. Macro is the name used for starting a macro, and end M is used for ending a macro. So what are macros in detail also we shall see and study. So we'll start with the DB, define byte. As it is named define byte. Define byte means define a byte type. A variable's size is being defined here. I write some variable in my program and I want the processor to know what would be the size of that variable. So I use db to define a size of my variable as 1 byte, that is 8 bits. So here it can take the range 00h till ffh, because this is the minimum possible 1 byte number and this is the maximum possible 1 byte number. Okay, obviously when we are working with the numbers which are signed, your 00h to 7h will be the positive number, so positive values, and 80h onwards, 80h to ffh will be your negative values. Why so? You take those numbers in the binary form and you'll understand. Because 80h onwards, when you write it, the numbers will be having an MSB bit as 1. And for binaries, we are very well known that for signed binaries, if the MSB bit is 1, the number is negative. So here is one example given of how the db can be used. This list is my variable name. db is I'm defining that the variable size of list will be 1 byte each. So here in that variable list, I am storing 3 elements. The size of each element is byte, as I am defining that one as byte. Okay. So the here what will happen is 3 consecutive memory locations or spaces will be reserved for the variable list, such that 3 elements of this one, each one 1 byte size, can be stored into that. This defined word is, as you can see here, it is similar to that of the defined byte thing, but the only difference here is that here I am declaring my variable size as to be as 2 bytes, that is 16 bits. So range for that 16-bit numbers will be, as you can see, it will be 0000h till ffh, and again here also the positives will be till 7fff, and from 8000h, 8000h onwards, it will be the negative numbers. So that is all for the define as word, that is DW. Here you can see one example, A list DW and 3 elements have returned. So here in this case, it will reserve 6 consecutive bytes for storing this 3 elements, because each element size is of 2 bytes. Next is this assume. Here you can check. Assume is used for telling the assembler that what will be the name of my each segment. So I can name the data segment, I can name the code segment, I can name the extra segment, and also the stack segment in the way I wish. So here is an example you can see here. I am writing assume CS colon code. That means here the CODE is what the name I have chosen for my code segment of the memory, because CS I am just assigning that as a CODE name. Similarly, for my data segment DS colon DATA I am writing. So DATA will be the segment name of my data segment. You can always choose the segment name according to your choice. Okay. Next is these two together, that is a segment and S. So here segment and S, they are the start and end indicators of any particular segment. Suppose I write my code segment to start, when I write it code followed by segment. In the earlier case, you can see that a segment name I have given as code for code segment. So I'll write it code followed by segment, and all my instructions of the program will be written next. And whenever I wish to end my particular segment, I'll be writing segment name, that is code and S. So this will end that particular code segment for me. Okay, so this segment assembly directive is indicating the assembler that following things will be in that particular segment, the name which I have indicated. And after I conclude that one, I can end that particular segment telling the assembler that next things will not be in that particular segment. This is the end of that particular segment. So here next you can see, we are discussing 4 of these particular assembly directives. Each one is ORG, end, even, and EQU. So what these are? ORG, earlier as I said you, here we can example also can check it. It can be written by followed by a 16-bit displacement number. That 16-bit displacement number, if you write anything, that becomes the effective address of that particular instructions or data which you write in that segment. Obviously, if it is a code segment, what you write in the code segment will be the instructions. So effective address of the code segment will be initiated at this particular point when you write ORG into it. So this effective address will be pointed by the instruction pointer in that case. Otherwise, if you are writing ORG in the data segment or extra segment or stack segment, in those all cases also, this becomes the effective address of that particular data. Now, another thing is end. So what does an end means? It's a general end. Suppose I write some label, I start that label and I want to end that label. Generally, after seeing the end instruction in the assembly language programming, assembler will assume that this is the proper end of that particular program, and no such thing should be considered into a program written after the end. Okay. Next is even. We have earlier discussed about the physical memory organization. There you can see that odd addresses are considered to be as higher byte of the data, and bank of the memory is considered to be having a lower byte of our operands. So this even is used for making sure that the new data is getting stored the lower byte in the even address first. So we write even, as you can see in this particular example, here org21200 have written. So after that one, variable a is defined as a byte and the variable is 4ch. So this data 4ch will be stored at the location 1200. After that 1201 location will be available for the next thing to be stored. But as that address is odd address, I do not want to store a new of my data starting from the odd address. So that's why I write even. Now what happens here is the address 1201 will not be used. Instead, the address 1202 and 1203, these two locations or these two byte locations will be used for storing my next variable value, that is 1052. Okay, in that also the 52 will be stored first, as that one is a lower byte, and 10 will be stored next, as that is a higher byte. So address 1202 will store the data 52h, and the next address, that is 1203, will store the data 10h. Okay, that is how that our assembler is taking our data and storing it into the 8086 memory. Okay, and followed by that one is the EQU. EQU is used for equating our variables with some particular value. Okay, earlier what we have seen is defined byte and defined word. They are defining the size of and the nature of our data. But whereas this EQU, it is used for just equating our variable name with some value. So here, suppose I am using some variable name VAR, I am equating that its value with the here 10FEH. So doesn't matter what the size of this one is here, just VAR will become 10FEH. Okay, so this is about this 4 assembler directives. Followed by this one, another 4 assembler directives are regarding the procedures and procedure, okay, far and near. So what they are, let us check it. So PROC is a general name, as we had a segment, SEGMENT, which indicate the start of the segment. PROC is used for indicating the beginning of a procedure. And obviously, and S as indicates the end of the segment, and P indicates the end of the procedure. Then here far and near are used for indicating that our procedure instructions will be within the segment 64 kilobyte of area. When it is within the 64 kilobyte of area, intra-segment, we write near. Okay, and whenever our procedure instructions are written, stored in the program memory, which is away from the main program instructions with the address range of more than 64 kilobytes of memory, which will be a one logical segment size. Okay, so that time we say that one as a far. Basically, near and far are used to indicate that whether the distance between the two things are within the 64 kilobytes of memory or it is more than 64 kilobytes of memory. So our logical segment size is 64 kilobytes. The maximum logical segment size is 64 kilobytes of memory. Okay. So here procedures, what procedures are? Now another question will be there. Procedures are a type of constructs similar to the subroutines, but not exactly subroutines, similar to the subroutines. Here we use procedures for writing our program instructions, which we wish to execute multiple times in the main program. Okay, and proper example of this one I'll show you as we are progressing. Okay. Next assembler directive here, it is a short, SHORT, that you can see it here. This particular assembler directive, it is reserved, it reserves one memory location of 8-bit signed displacement such that a jump instruction can be used in that one. So in a previous class, we have talked about the jump instruction JMP. So when I write JMP short another label name, that means whatever this label name displacement I will be writing, that will be a 8-bit displacement number. Because using short, I am just indicating that my displacement will be of only 8 bits. So when I am writing 8 bits, that will be the FFH maximum thing, and FFH is our 256 bytes of the space. So whenever our jump is within the 256 bytes of the space, we write short. Otherwise, we avoid writing this short because this displacement that time can be more than enough to 256 locations. Okay, why 256? Because 8 bits maximum number possible definition by binaries is 256. Here next we have macro and macro end, the last two assembler directives which we will be discussing here. Macro and macro end macro, end M is end macro. They are in some way similar to that of the procedures earlier I have talked it. Procedures and macro together they are used in the assembly language programming to reduce the size of the instructions what we write in the program. Okay, technically procedures will actually reduce the overall memory size, but macros will not. But when we write the macros once, multiple times it can be reinserted by just writing it once. How it is, why it is, we will talk about the macros also. Here macros you can see they are macro is the word used for indicating the beginning of a macro, and end M is a word or a indication used for indicating the end of a macro. And general structure of a macro will be, we have to write a user defined macro name followed by macro, and you can pass arguments as we pass arguments in the C language functions. Okay, and we at to end that macro will write end M. Now talking about macros and understanding the procedures also along with the macros as we progress now. Writing a macro is one way of ensuring the modular programming. And what is modular programming? Modular programming is a software design technique that emphasizes separating the different functional modules of a main program such that individually they are written and they are collectively used together for working as a single unit. This will make the parallel development of the programming software industries. All everywhere in the software industries, when you see all the different heavy and big projects are broken into the different modules, and the individual teams will be working on individual modules to make the whole software program running. Anyhow, macros and procedures are the two ways in which we can ensure the modular programming in the assembly language programming. Here, macro is a sequence of instructions assigned by one name, and we can use them any number of times in the program as required. Anytime we write the name of that macro, what happens is the instructions what we written in that macro will be copy pasted into the main program. So as I earlier also said that procedure technically will reduce the overall size of the program, but macros will not. But as you see, once we are writing the instructions, it can be copy pasted many times, but by just writing its name. So human efforts and human understanding of the program size will be reduced actually, but in the computer sense, the program size will not reduce as the instructions are copy pasted as many times as they are required. Generally, macros will be used for shorter number of instructions when it is to be repeated, and procedures are chosen for repeating the larger number of instructions, more number of instructions when you want to repeat it multiple times. So in that cases, we write them at one place. That becomes a procedure thing. And in program, when we call a procedure, instead of copy pasting the procedure instructions into the main program, what happens here is program execution flow will break from the main program, go to the procedure as it is generally goes for the subroutines. Okay, execute the program instructions of the procedure, and while finding the end of the procedure, it will come back to the main program. Okay, that is about the macros and the procedure. Macros versus procedures, as I was telling earlier also, they are both used for developing a modular programming and assembly language programming, but they do have some difference in them, some similarities in them. What is that one? We will be checking out now. Intentionally, both are used for reducing the human view of a program size to be in a smaller number of lines. Okay, macros indeed will do that one, but procedure we along with the reducing the program size in number of lines for humans, also it reduces the number of program lines even for computer or the processor. So here macros, what macros are? They carried out as an inline execution. When we write a macro, inline execution means here once you write a macro at one place and later on when you call that macro, the macro instructions will be copy pasted into the main program itself. So that is why the program execution flow is inline. It is not going away from the main program. Okay, that is what we call as an inline execution. Okay, it is used for short pieces of the code, very short instructions, less number of instructions when you are willing to repeat many times, we use this macros. And why it is used for? It is used for saving the time. Instead of writing the 2 instructions which I'll be using 5 times in my program, so writing that 2 instructions 5 times will make it writing equivalent to 10 instructions. But instead I can write it only once, only 2 instructions, and just calling the macro name, I can repeat it 5 or 10 times as I require. Okay, macro calls are replaced by macro code by the assembler itself. Whenever the assembler sees the macro name, it will do that copy pasting work. Okay, wherever that macro instructions are there, from there it will copy that one into the place where the macro name was called in the main program. Okay, here it can also pass the parameters, the arguments into the program. As you know about the functions in C language and Python, we write functions and we pass the arguments into it such that the parameters can be passed into to reflect upon the overall programming afterwards. So macros can do that work. They work as a similar to the functions of C language. Okay. Next we have the procedures. Here the procedure, when we write it, they carry out the branched type of execution. When we say the branched type of execution, it means the program execution in the main program will break. It will be branched to some other location wherever the procedure instructions are placed. It will execute those instructions and come back to the main program after completion the execution of procedural instructions. Here it is used for the longer code. That means more number of instructions when are there. Okay, when you want to repeat more number of instructions many times in the program, we write procedure. Okay, here they are used for saving the memory space. Obviously, as I said, 10 instructions written in the program, 10 times you have to repeat it. Suppose 1 byte space is taken by 1 instruction, and if you write that 10 into 10, 100 bytes of the space will be used. But instead, when I write in procedure, only 10 bytes of the space will be used, because the same 10 byte of space I am using 10 times in my program. Using them to 10 times, but not copy pasting into my main program size. Okay, so that reduces the size of the memory space used for programming. Procedure calls enables the program to jump to the memory location wherever the procedure is stored. Whenever the procedure name is found in assembly language programming, the program execution will go to that particular memory location wherever the procedure is stored and execute those instructions there. One drawback, or we can say comparative drawback in the procedure, is that we cannot pass a parameters, direct parameters into the procedure, as we can do that in macros. Okay. So here is the comparison between the macros and procedure. You can see. We will talk about the similarities between the macros and procedures. They can be called any number of times, both of them. Okay. They allow the easy maintenance of the program. The change in the code requires reassembling. Every time you make a small change in the macro or a procedure or main program, you require to reassemble it one more time. They both use as a call type of instruction. Obviously, when you write a macro name or procedure name, they use as the call instruction. The assembler uses the call instruction to call that macro or procedure into the main program. So that is all about the macros and procedures. Before we conclude our class, I will want to show you few assembly language programs. We'll start with very simple program. Okay. It is a program for addition of 2 numbers using immediate addressing mode. So here the add instruction, you can check it out here, uses an immediate addressing mode for adding a number 4683 into AX. AX already contains another number 1235, which we earlier moved into AX. Now by adding it, whatever that number is there in AX, that is 1235, will be added with the 4683 in this case. And int 3, earlier we have talked about int 3, breakpoint interrupt. It is used to create a breakpoint in your program. And this is general structure. You can see all the use of assembler directives, instructions, addressing modes into this. Okay, few more examples I'll show. Anyhow, the complete explanation and working of these programs we shall see in the practical sessions. So here another similar type of program is there, but here the addressing mode which I'm using is different. And also, I'm not using an immediate data. I'm storing my data into the memory first. So memory type of addressing will be there. In the memory type of addressing also, group 2 will be using the indexed addressing here. Why so? Because I'll be using the indexed register to store my operand such that I can add into X. This another program is there. This is for sorting an array. So I'll write an array of 16-bit numbers here. I sort them in this particular program by using the sorting algorithm. So this program is for sorting. One more program as I am showing you here. It is a string comparison program. This program comes under the string manipulation programs of 8086. So this particular program will be using our compare SB instruction. You can find that compare SB instruction here at line number 28. Repeat compare SB. So repeat compare string bytes, because here my intention is to compare two strings. One each is stored in data segment, that is EMPTY, and another one is stored in the extra segment, that is EMVTY. As you can see yourself that they are different, but anyhow I am making the processor to decide whether they are different or same. So whether the strings are unequal or equal, that message has to be shown to me after the completion of comparison algorithm. So that is a program of string comparison. That is it. Thank you everybody. By this we conclude our this particular topic and also your unit 1. So we shall see you in our next session where we will be talking about 8051 microcontrollers. Thank you. Bye.